Hey, what's up? It's Patrick Lovell coming to you, truth bombing on the PM version of April 3rd, 2023 at 9:30 p.m. my time, and I've just you've been absorbing the prime time setup for tomorrow's booking of Trump and everything that's going to surround all the speculation, what's going to happen, this and that. Of course, everything that you would expect. Pretty interesting to see the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, basically warning MAGAs that if you come armed to the teeth, even though he didn't say that, but I got the impression that he was saying that if you come as you did on January 6th, we're not gonna tolerate that. And I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene, notwithstanding, and some pockets that we're going to see a massive, at least at the moment, sort of populist upswell to put their necks on the line for Donald Trump. I don't see that happening yet, at least not from what I can tell tonight. But I, I don't know. I'm kind of going through this thing in my mind, man, because, and I felt like I had to express it like this. When I was younger, growing up, I thought that anything was possible. I really did. There was no dream too bold, too big to accomplish. If you want to accomplish something, you make it happen. That's just always been my mindset. And so I've always been ambitious in my own right. And, the country turned upside down and became something that it wasn't 13, 14 years ago. Maybe it was always this way, but it certainly didn't occur to me. I had to basically reconfigure my entire mindscape to understand the nature of things. And, as I was going through to tonight's breakdown of, things that are occurring, and, the latest news is more information coming out of the special counsel, Jack Smith's moves to potentially go even faster than what can happen with Alvin Bragg up in New York, because, and this was something that just triggered me, that the federal courts can apply what is known as the rocket docket. And that just brought back the memories of what happened to millions of people that got bulldozed in federal courts as a result of being set up in the 2008 great financial crisis, using a lot of the same fraud that's on display in all things Don the Con. But what's just amazing about all of this is that, as I mentioned in a couple of Twitter tweets earlier today, as I mentioned in my truth bomb earlier today, I have the information that is exponentially larger than anything that's coming or has come out of mainstream media. I'm the only one who's gone the distance. Yeah, that's the deal. I've got the answers that reveal the largest criminal conspiracy and cover-up in history. And as I say to you over and over, I've got the evidence of how Federal Reserve Act 13.3 was used to backdoor trillions of dollars illegally to a bankrupt criminal syndicate. It's really all there is to it. This stuff with Trump is child's play. And yet, it's amazing how many people I see in social media, particularly those that have been victims or destroyed or had their lives just completely, you can't call it destroyed, because destroyed is kind of a sudden, impact, like a grenade or a bomb or something that just blows it all to hell. That's not what this is. This is more of like torture. This is more grinding you down in ways that are incomprehensible when you're trying to fight for proving that someone is trying to take your home that they don't have a right to take, and that you cannot do, in contrast to what everybody is saying in mainstream media about what happens when the law runs its course, is that everybody gets their fair shot, that they get discovery, that they can, present their evidence and make their case. And that's what happens, and justice will find a way. That's what's being sold to us right now, because in one case, we might be seeing evidence of this because the judicial system is doing its job on one person, Now, granted, it was the former president of the United States that, through a whole lot of conspiracy scenarios that aren't on display, were able to rally thousands of people to the Capitol, and during the insurrection and everything that uh, reveals to us. And I mean, just all of these different cases. I look at it like child's play for the law, but it's a media spectacle, and it's like suddenly the system is going to, and I guess under Biden's watch, sell us that no, this is how the law works. And meanwhile, like I continue to tell you, and what Leslie Stahl won't tell you, instead she'll rather have Marjorie Taylor Greene on to bloviate highly emotive, and I don't know why I'm searching for the right words, because it's so easy. I mean, she's just there to shock. Certainly not shock and awe, just shock that somebody like her would be in Congress to begin with. And again, I have no idea how the interview went, because I could just imagine it, and I'm not going to waste my time on it. But going back to the beginning of what I started off with, man, I used to think anything was possible. And I used to look at myself in the mirror, and I know I had this sixth sense. I had this confidence in myself from the very earliest days of my knowing who I am, that I would not tolerate injustice, that I would fight evil with everything I had and defeat it, because that's just who I am. That's just how I roll. That's how I tick. And that's how I've been my entire life. But what we're in the midst of is like nothing I could have ever imagined. As I mentioned, there are people that have been, their lives gutted. I think that's a more appropriate term. Their lives were gutted. They were strung out. They were tortured. They were on the rack. Everything, where they lost everything, and they probably felt like they were going crazy in the process, and wound up in scenarios like rocket dockets, where they were the ones bulldozed into submission because the system didn't work. And it didn't matter in millions of cases, because the government just decided, look, man, we had, I can only imagine what was happening behind closed doors. I can imagine someone saying to, at that time, President Obama, who had, come out of Harvard, where he was the editor of the Crimson, and a lot of eyes were on him, and he became a junior senator in Illinois. But he was also an organizer, and he'd seen a lot and helped a lot of people, and been, I think, someone who was legitimately empathetic and of the people, until he wasn't. And I can see you making the Faustian bargain. You get in positions of power, you have to, a lot of people would say, compromise, and sometimes compromise is good. But what do you call it if you come up from a situation, and I have evidence, by the way, and I've never mentioned this on these truth bombs, that I have somebody on camera who actually wrote the anti-predatory legislation with then junior Senator Barack Obama, such that he was aware of all of the different elements that was used to bury however many percentage African Americans in Chicago, that he was working with for a long time. In fact, I want to say his signature legislation led to a lot of stuff that took place in Georgia, as I recall, with, I think, either the senator or the governor, some senior figure that wanted to tackle predatory lending in the state of Georgia because it was so out of control. And the banks circled the wagons and were like, you stop us from doing this, and we will stop loans to commercial projects and make life miserable for you. They played hardball like anybody who was a hard money lender would, and in control. And his name was Barnes. It might have been Governor Barnes. But anyway, apparently that all happened as a result of what then Senator Barack Obama's legislation had put together, that he had co-wrote with this attorney that I have really on the shelf, of one of the many pieces of material that I have on the shelf that I'm trying to convince you to understand that the only way that we're going to be able to tell these truths and bring these truths to the public is if I can somehow manage to get you to invest $13. I'm not asking you for $1,300. I'm not asking for $100. I'm not asking you for $50. I'm asking you for $13. And I'm asking you to recruit 13 people, particularly if you've gone through the madness of the 2008 financial crisis and you want your stories and you want these truths elevated. Because what are you going to do? I mean, I see this all the time. I see people like buying into these attorney groups who've said that they're going to be able to, work this out, and they try to tell them what the story is and everything else, and they just get them sucked into this like black hole where they're collecting fees to go nowhere, and they never win. Why? Because they're not going to let people win. Because they're not going to let this story out there. Everything has been suppressed. The government has suppressed the information that I'm revealing to you. And so for all of you who tend to like skew MAGA, and you're like anti-government and anti-deep state, if I could just get you to understand, Donald Trump is not your savior. Donald Trump played ball doing this with his own predation machine, and then he actually manipulated the law in 2012 to sue Deutsche Bank for claiming he was a victim of predatory lending like millions of African Americans. Can you think of anything more disgusting? Well, I guess everything that Trump does all the time that you people put your faith in. Why? Because the system screwed you so bad that in the back of your mind, you've got some crazy shame and this like perverted madness that's like, oh my God, I hate the system so bad that I'm going to actually align with a guy like Donald Trump. You can't be against corruption and for Trump. You can't. It's just stupid that you don't know that. But yet Donald Trump literally is using this to fundraise, and I think he raised $5 million since his presidential announcement at Waco, where he was celebrating, basically white supremacist hatred of the deep state. And people were shelling out money left and right for this guy, who was a crook. And for the rest of you, I mean, look, guys, we're up against it as a country. And this is where I'm coming from. Because I don't know how much I have left in me, to be honest with you. I have been truth bombing for a year. I have put together with my colleagues, incredible information with this podcast that we did called The New Untouchables that reveal just incredible details. I went and I filibustered with heroic people that wound up at the Federal Reserve so that we could draw attention that the American people are not foam on the runway for the crashing financial system that the Fed's done now 3 times that I can count, maybe 4, since the 2008 great financial crisis, to where they're pumping trillions of dollars into the financial system to completely do it again and again and again. And what do you want to do? You want to get on the side of Trump? Trump's never going to fix this. You remember when Trump got elected, he said he was going to drain the swamp, and then he put all the major players from Goldman Sachs and all the major financial institutions at the apex of his, working group or whatever they call it. All the senior leaders from all the different aspects of governance. We're all people from this body, and he just sold you all a bag of goods. I mean, he's lying to your fucking face. And you're buying it. And many of you are spending money on that. And meanwhile, I literally have all the answers that can put it together, that can reveal the lies, the deception of mainstream media. I can turn this thing inside out. You want to fight the deep state of corruption? I'm your guy. You want to get justice back into the world? I'm your guy. You want to, be redeemed and live a life worthwhile moving forward where we purge evil? I'm your guy. And is it because I just telling you I'm your guy? No. It's because I've spent 13 years getting all of the answers on camera that took freaking millions of dollars to do, that I did alongside the best in the business from inside the machine. Those that were in the senior level C-suites at the biggest financial corporations in this country that got away with murder, that reveal exactly what they did, and so forth. And most importantly, the guys that are from the Department of Justice at the highest levels. at the Federal Bureau of Investigations at the highest levels. Some are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are conservative, some are more liberal. But the fact is, they were all professionals in understanding the law. And I went the distance to get all of this information that would fucking blow up 60 Minutes in every major primetime, scenario, making freaking, a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to Trump. And I don't want to say that he's a molehill because he's not. He's a vile expression of what we are. He's a mirror. When you get somebody like Trump to be the president, millions of people to support him, all he is like, I can't even, fictionally, it's like the worst villain out of Gotham you could possibly imagine. And I guess I'm fucking Batman. And I'm losing my cool because I don't know how much left I have left in me. I'm kind of like to my wit's end where it's like, what do I got to do to trigger you to understand that I'm not fucking asking you for I can't even think straight. I'm not asking you for a donation. I'm not asking you some vagrant, unfortunately, who knows how he got there. Maybe he actually got, booted from an illegal foreclosure and lost his life. And I've got all sorts of empathy. Some of those folks are, drug addicts and problems else, and they're asking you for $1 on the corner, and it makes you feel awkward and uncomfortable. I'd rather go down to a homeless shelter and donate my time and give money to the people that organize that so that people have a place to go. I mean, I've done that, right? And the bottom line is, I'm not asking you to give me a donation because I'm doing it because the way the nature of the game is played. I've told you several times that the billionaires and the multinationals spend hundreds of millions of dollars to corrupt the system. And that's not just the political system, that's our judiciary. And then also, they bought long ago our media. And the media's job is to make sure you look over there, here, and every which way, then right here. And then ultimately, you've got, advertisers and mainstream media and platforms that can give you online free information, but you think it's free, really? No, when it's free, you're the actual, what do they say? You're the actual, I can't think of the term, man. When it's free, you're the actual product. That's really what it is, because you're selling them information based on what you're watching and them getting information on what you do and how you think and everything else. And this stuff is next level Orwellian. The United States was born because men of great character and great courage came together to square up against the most powerful empire in the world had ever seen at that time. And they defeated it. And they defeated it because, honestly, they saw the choice between bondage under King George III or liberty. And they chose to fight for liberty. Now, yeah, I know what happened to the Native Americans. I know what happened to the slave culture. I know also what happened with the abolitionists that fought for the Civil War to end slavery, that created the progressive movement. Eventually, we ended up with women's rights suffrage. We ended up with the labor rights movement. We ended up with the environmental movement. We ended up with the civil rights movement in order to form a more perfect union. That was the progressive wave that went through Teddy Roosevelt first and trust busting into FDR. This is a part of American history. And what I'm telling you is that through me, we will create the truth first and foremost to be able to punch through this insane void of darkness to people's understanding, to be able to teach them exactly how the goddamn system works. And then that's when the light of freaking truth will hit everybody square in the face. And when there's millions of us, and I mean millions, it's got to be millions of us, because that's the only way we can get the attention of the fucking everything else. To start getting more and more and more people to join the tidal wave, populist crusade to purge corruption. And my position has been and will continue to be and will be until it gets through your thick freaking skull for those of you who are on the right side of justice, who believe in justice. You cannot, there is nobody out there from Occupy Wall Street and on, to Black Lives Matter or to Me Too or anything else that has put this whole thing together comprehensively. It's not identity politics. It's systemic corruption that it fucks everybody. And so what I'm saying is to get to the Green New Deal and to get to moving forward, to get to the renaissance that's on the other side of this freaking madness that's overcome us since 9/11, and fill in the blanks on that one, it's to create the clean New Deal. Am I running for president? Maybe. If I can get to on first base, I got to get 1,300 contributors and investors, because you're investing in the redemption and the resurrection of the American dream. Sorry, the only way you're going to get it is if we come together, because the bad guys have got it locked up. And we got to punch them in the face like Popeye punched fucking Pluto. I'm serious. And the only way we're going to do that is if you buy in. $13, because we had the original 13 colonies that stepped up to save this, to create this country, because they were all searching for liberty. That's what it's about. You got to have the freaking fervor of the revolutionary zeal, man. You can't be watered down and fractured and all over the place in identity politics. Some of my heroes, man, I've got heroes all over the spectrum of humanity. I love fucking Muhammad Ali. I love Martin Luther King. I love Bob Marley, among others. Earl Campbell is probably the greatest hero to me personally. I love Mike Tyson. And I love Kelly Slater, who's a Palestinian, from what I understand. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And there's so many incredible Jews out there. There's so many incredible women. There's so many incredible white people. It's like, guys, I am an American. Do I have a background, a difference of, where my family came from? Yeah, my family came from England, Germany, and Russia. Those are the three, backgrounds that make me up who I am, okay? Everybody's got DNA coming from somewhere, right? But the bottom line is, I'm an American, because that trumps everything. Because liberty and justice gives us the opportunity to live our lives and to fulfill our lives and to live up to our expectations and to achieve our dreams. And the American dream's got to mean something, as does truth. Truth has to matter above all else. And you can't be for Trump and against corruption. I know I said that earlier. I'll say it again. For all of you who got bulldozed by what you're probably pegging as Obama's problem, Obama just put all the bad guys in that created the problem from the years before, and then he stepped on the sidelines and let these guys reboot. Again, to remind everybody, right now they're talking about being able to get an even faster indictment through Jack Smith at the DOJ because of what they're calling, not fast tracking, I said it at the beginning, which is what happened to millions of borrowers. Whatever. I think I've made my point. Jesus Christ, can you help me out? Can you help yourself out? Can we come together? Can we defeat Rocketdocus? Can we defeat corruption? Can we build a sustainable society? I promise you, if you join me, the redemption is at hand, man. It's exodus to resurrection. And on the other side of this is the opportunity to turn the chapter on the dark ages of the last 20 years of pure corruption. Didn't start 20 years ago, probably started 30, 40 years ago, the early manifestations of this, but here we are. And it's either the fork of the road, the end of the road, or we just fucking blow this goddamn crossroads up to high heaven, send the devil back to hell, and overwhelm them with truth. The light of truth, man. Indiana Jones. You remember that scene when he's down at the, in fact, that's one of my, I'm glad I thought about that. So my favorite movie of all time is literally Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And one of the key ingredients of that film was the fork in the storyline and the plot when Sala and Indy go to consult with this, hieroglyphic reader of the Staff of Ra, who realizes the Nazis only have one half of the staff covered, and so therefore they find out that they're digging in the wrong place. That's what the entire country is in the midst of, because of misdirection by this either brilliant, diabolical, sabotaging network of something that is controlling everybody, just like we think of in some science fiction movie, or we're just simply that stupid. I think it's probably the latter, to be honest with you. I think that it's unbelievably how predictable it is that people who got bulldozed that are white by Obama's administration would literally, instead of joining me and getting involved with, a tidal wave, a populist tidal wave crusade to purge corruption, they want to split themselves because they're Jekyll and Hyde. And they want to go, what, the South will rise again? For what purpose? You want to bring back, what, plantations? What's the vision? Just to fucking be a dick? My vision is we purge corruption and we defeat fascism and we rein in a new era of liberty and justice for all. I've been doing this for a year and a half. I barely moved the needle. And thank you to all of you who have actually come on board. We need more. We need monumentally more. We need millions. I need you to light your ass on fire, and I need you to light other people on fire. I need you to join us. And if you want to find out who I am more, if you're just coming to find out who I am for the first time, go to www.thecon.tv. It's all right there. And I'll finish with this. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, God, how much do I have left? Why do I want to keep going? What do I care about? You know what? I can just disappear into history and let the biggest revelation of the last 75 years that should be worth billions of dollars, quite frankly, just in terms of what it means to everything, to reconfigure the country, because I can take down the madness of the deception, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I know the truth. And when you've got the truth, you're bulletproof. So it doesn't matter. So I can quit tomorrow and I can move on and everything else. I found out recently that I've got, champions that are completely behind me, that include the former director of investigations, white collar investigations of the DOJ, third at the DOJ, had 30 years at the DOJ, who took down La Cosa Nostra. And the guy's like, you're the man. He's got my back. I've got another guy who actually had the courage to stand up to the largest criminal grift that you could ever possibly imagine. That was an $80 billion a year Ponzi scheme that he tried to end. And he went to everybody that would end it the way it's supposed to be ended. And they freaking purged him and he hasn't stopped. And he's a man of faith. And he admires everything I'm trying to do for the cause. And there's more. But the bottom line is, I refuse to accept the idea that we will allow this betrayal to continue. I've got to find millions of you. If you, me, and everybody you see who isn't a Nazi, who believes in dignity, integrity, sustainability, and liberty, we merge in unity. We will defeat tyranny, and that is our destiny. Rise, roar, revolt. Failure is not an option. Onwards.